So today I'm going to talk about how to actually raise the prices of your higher ticket offers without really changing anything about the offer or the delivery or anything, so that you can get better clients who pay you more, so that you can actually make more money while working less, etc. There are a lot of benefits to raising your prices, such as also increasing your profits. The list goes on, right? And for me, it comes down to mainly two things, right? Now, some people will tell you that, hey, just don't worry about anything else, just go and raise your prices and just see what happens. And sometimes that sort of works, because the price is not just some number, it actually tells a very specific story about who you are and like how good your stuff is. For example, I see a lot of people on Instagram, creators and stuff, and coaches, and they may have a few 100,000 followers, but then they're selling like 60-minute Zoom calls for like $100 or something, right? And what that tells me is that they're not actually that great at being a coach and like helping me, right? And so the premium buyers will sort of overlook it and not actually invest, because the price just seems too low for the supposed value that they want, right? And so the price tells a story about who you are and what um, the value that you can provide, right? And so sometimes just raising the price, see what happens, can work, right? But I'm gonna also talk about two things that are a little bit more tactical when it comes to raising the price. And the first one is about who you are actually targeting, right? And I'm not talking about like selling to richer people or, changing your niche or something like that. Although that plays a little bit of a role. Let's say if you sell, a make money online offer, and you want to sell to just 9 to 5ers or something, or just teenage kids like the Andrew Tates, they can't sell expensive stuff because they're just selling to people with no money, right? But this point here also has to do with the relationship you have with the person that you're promoting the offer to, right? And so a lot of people will, for example, run an ad, right? And it's directly to like book a call, and they sell some like 5K offer or something like that, right? Now, sure, you can get sales this way. However, depending on, who you're selling this to, in some niches, it's a little bit easier, some it's harder, depending on, what you do, who you sell to, etc. But in general, doing this type of like structure or this type of funnel will result in a lot of people resisting to invest this much in you. Why? Well, because they came immediately from a cold ad, right? They have no idea who you are. Sure, you may have described their pain pretty well. You may have had good marketing. You may have a good offer, etc. But 5K is still a lot of money for most people to invest in you immediately, because it's just an ice cold lead. So something that you can do, and this also applies if you're doing just organic, is send people not immediately to schedule a call, right? But you can send people to like a low ticket, which is something I'm a big fan of, where they can invest a little bit of money with you and really see the value of your paid stuff. So they consume your paid stuff, which deepens the relationship with the lead, and this low ticket also filters out the people who will never spend money to solve their problem, and you can more easily ascend them to your high ticket, right? And so with all of these things that I just mentioned playing an effect or playing a role in just warming up the lead and building that relationship, you can much more easily charge more money for this high ticket right here, for all those reasons that I mentioned, right? Because now they're not a stranger to you. Now they have consumed some of your paid stuff, and if it gives them results, then they know that it works, right? So a lot easier to invest in your high ticket, even if it this time may be like 6K instead of 5K, right? So even though you may have attracted the same except the same exact person here as you did here, there will be less resistance here than it is over here, even though it's $1,000 more here than it is above. Why? Well, the relationship, the consumption, etc. makes it easier to say yes to the high ticket, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Now, the second point, or the second more, let's say, tactical thing that you can do in order to raise your price is simply focus on the right problem, right? And this is something that I see just a lot of people get wrong pretty often, and it's that they don't actually really know what problem they're solving, or they're targeting some sort of very surface level problem, right? And so let's say you have an offer, right? And it's about let's say it's about helping teams, right? Teams with like productivity. And I mean, like, I'm writing like a fucking, all right, so it's like productivity, right? Now you could promote this productivity offer to businesses, and you could say, we help people's teams increase productivity so that you can make more money or something, right? So you're solving productivity. But if you compare that sort of description of how your offer can add value to saying something along the lines of, hey, do you know, when you walk into the room of your employees, do you see them, you know, looking at their phone or like talking to each other, and they're not actually like making calls or, you know, doing the things that they're supposed to do, and it makes you, let's say, nervous or something, right? I'm just pulling this basically out of my ass at this point, right? But the difference between those two like descriptions, increase your productivity, and do you, basically what I said just now, the second description is much more vivid, and people can see themselves in that problem. And so the problem is more of a deep level problem than just some surface level problem, which is like improve, like, do you want your team to improve their productivity, or is the productivity bad, right? It's very surface level, and people can't actually see themselves in that quote unquote story, in that sentence, right? But when you start actually like digging deeper, you create tension in the reader's mind, right? And the more specific you can get, and the more vivid the problem, the more painful the problem is, the more tension you can create. And it only gets relieved when they actually buy. But you don't create any tension by saying, is your team unproductive, right? There's no specificity, no vivid imagery, no nothing, right? And so how you describe the problem, which problem you're actually solving, matters a lot, right? When it comes to just raising your prices or getting paid as much as you want to get paid, right? So that's basically going to be it for this video. If you want to I don't know, follow me on socials, then you can click the links in the description.